Have you ever desired to change the way you did things in the past? Maybe say some words you did not have the courage to say, or give yourself more confidence to do things you were too scared to attempt. Like saying, "I love you," to those close to you. Or perhaps studying a bit harder for final exams, or even pushing yourself to exercise when you feel like giving up. Most likely, the answer is yes. Unfortunately, we cannot alter the past. That's why it's crucial to focus on the present. Fortunately, we have ʀɪʚᴜᴜ who allows us to see how things would have worked if someday we find a time machine and broke the universe rules. The story begins with a memory from the past where ʀɪʚᴜᴜ is approached by a girl who wants to know if he is familiar with light novels. And it turns out it is not the case. The girl assumed so because she had once seen him in the library reading one. However, it looks like the girl needs his help whatsoever. She is an avid reader in the middle of searching for a popular light novel, but it looks like she's forgotten the title and now is troubled. Even though she looked through the library's light novel list and it was way longer than expected, she knows the story is about a character riding a motorcycle and traveling to a lot of countries. Hearing that, ʀɪʚᴜᴜ awakens his sixth sense and prompts the girl to wait a second. Not long after that, to everyone's surprise, it is the book she was looking for. Just by looking at the cover, she remembers it. Thinking about it, the two of them never managed to talk like this, more than hello and goodbye. And now, when they manage to speak more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 sentences seem to indicate that the girl is able to understand ʀɪʚᴜᴜ and believes he is such a nice person. Anyway, the girl is now happy and says that she is glad she met ʀɪʚᴜᴜ, freezing the boy's tender heart. It looks like this boy's youthful years were all gray, and this 8-sentence conversation with this girl threw some color into his life. However, a moment later, he finds himself with his head on the desk and a pile of documents that have to be organized by tomorrow on his left side. It turns out he was just having a dream. And at the moment, ʀɪʚᴜᴜ is at the company he entered right after high school graduation. A black company that harassed him with overtime services at every opportunity. ʀɪʚᴜᴜ has endured so many outrageous things, and the next thing he realized, he was already 30 years old. Moreover, recently he started feeling dizzy and having palpitations. Yet he keeps on working at this company under those poor conditions only because he is way too scared to quit. He even knows that he is a gloomy coward who hates working hard. Even though he must fight, he always ends up running away, and because of that, he does not have a single good memory in his life. And as any man who turned 30 years old and has nothing good in his life, he looks at photos of the high school girl he had in his class, ʀᴜᴜᴜ, a beautiful and rich girl who was kind to others. ʀɪʚᴜᴜ used to admire her. They were on the same library committee, and she was also friendly to a guy like himself. That alone is one of his most beautiful memories. Guys, don't be like him. As he said earlier, whenever things become difficult or scary, he tends to run away like a coward. If you want better memories, such as playing with friends at the beach, traveling the world, kissing the most beautiful girl in the class, or putting a finger in your girlfriend's anus, you must proceed down that dirty path and crawl through those scary valleys until you are about to throw up. That is the beauty of life. A big, black hole. Anyway, as ʀɪʚᴜᴜ sinks into despair and continues to contemplate his losses, he laments that, at only 30, both his heart and body feel battered. Despite his mother's hard work raising him alone, she tragically passed away due to her constant worry. He harbors the belief that if it weren't for the financial support he provides, no one would feel sadness upon his departure. Amidst these thoughts, he reflects on how things reached this point and questions what he may have done wrong. ʀɪʚᴜᴜ comes to the conclusion that high school represented his final opportunity for change. With that in mind, now he understands how important those times were. He realizes that if you want a clean finger, you must make an effort and take it out of your ass. With a resounding shout, he shouts out loud, I will clean my finger," imploring a higher power to transport him back to those pivotal moments. In the next moment, his heart starts pounding so hard that his chest starts hurting, making him unable to stay strong and wondering if this is going to be the end of his life. and with his last drop of strength, he uses his hand to open his phone and look at that girl. Moments later, he opens his eyes and finds himself in a bed covered with a blanket. The last thing he remembers is collapsing while working, likely due to some kind of heart attack. Now, most probably, he's at the hospital. However, upon looking around, he realizes this place doesn't resemble a hospital room at all. It looks like his room at his parents' house, but that's impossible. That house was demolished a long time ago. As he surveys the room, he's confronted by a mirror that reflects a younger version of himself. This surprises him. He remembers this face from around the time he was in high school. Moreover, glancing at his phone, he notices it's one of those old flip phones. Checking the date, he sees that the time is set 14 years in the past. All of these things lead him to believe that a time leap has occurred, which seems unrealistic, but there's no other explanation for the situation he's in right now. To add to the evidence, through the door to his room, his mother appears, surprised to see him awake so early in the morning. Upon realizing that the person in front of him is indeed his mother, tears of happiness start pouring from his eyes, worrying his mother, who doesn't understand what's happening and assumes he must have eaten some of those mushrooms that grow under his bed. To dispel her misconception, he ends up saying he just had a bad dream. Now, as he walks towards school, wearing that uniform makes ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ feel nostalgic. However, he remains perplexed. Is this truly a journey through time? Everything around him resembles scenes from 14 years ago, down to the convenience store. Did the universe truly grant him the opportunity to return to school and relive those years, even though he feels like an old man inside? With this thought in mind, he resolves that, starting tomorrow, he'll seize the chance to redo his life. Like many manga characters who've experienced a dismal existence and traveled back in time, he's determined to transform his gray existence into something more vibrant. No longer will he dwell in regret. Instead, he'll invest effort in everything he does. He's determined to seek revenge for all the regrets from his past life. His first priority is his mother. He refuses to cause her any worry. While ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ grapples with countless other regrets, he must focus on avoiding the trap of joining a black company. Yet, there's a fatal mistake lurking in his past, and as he ponders what it might be, someone comes running toward him, calling out his name. Even after 14 years, he couldn't forget one of the most precious individuals of his youth. As he encounters the girl he admired again after traveling through time, he is stunned. However, after she expresses her concerns, he quickly excuses himself, blaming the sleepiness. Observing her, he realizes she's as refined as ever. After all, she's the daughter of a prestigious family, her father being the head of a renowned bookstore chain across the country. Despite her status, she remains kind and possesses a pleasant personality. However, things took a turn for the worse for her after high school. When she joined a certain company, her looks and demeanor made her popular, but jealousy from her female co-workers led to bullying and drove her into depression. Simultaneously, her family's business struggles plunged her into a dark place. When ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ sees the news, anguish and misery flood over him once again, and even now, after encountering her, he can't shake those feelings. That's why, if he can alter the future, he'll definitely save her. However, for now, he must maintain a casual demeanor to avoid arousing suspicion. Today, ʀᴜᴜᴛ appears energetic, revealing that she stayed up late reading books. Mentioning volume 7 of a particular book, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ begins to speak enthusiastically about it, causing ʀᴜᴜᴛ to sense that something is different about him today. Normally reserved and often looking at the ground rather than her cute face, he appears unusually bright and lively, almost to the point of catching her off guard. In his previous life, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ lacked communication skills, often responding curtly when spoken to. However, due to the necessity of interaction in his work, he gradually became more accustomed to conversing with others. He refrains from sharing this with ʀᴜᴜᴛ, but instead acknowledges that he's been able to evolve as a person because of her influence. ʀᴜᴜᴛ, always cheerful in her interactions with him, prompts him to promise to talk more from now on. Her response leaves her slightly embarrassed, evident in the bright blush coloring her cheeks. Observing Shizhuan return a bag of books to the library, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ suggests it must be heavy and offers to carry it for her. This habit stems from his experience working. While he worries he might be overstepping, Shizhuan admits that she borrowed too many books, causing her arms to tire. With that, she ends up saying that ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ looks more manly and has become nicer. If he can carry those heavy books, it would be no problem for him to carry her into his strong arms toward the bedroom. As the two of them are walking towards the school and seem unable to stop staring into each other's eyes while talking, everyone's attention is drawn to them. In the past, those looks might have made him shy, but now he doesn't care about those gazes. He's enjoying talking with the girl he admires. When they arrive at school, the place feels even more nostalgic than wearing the school uniform. Now it's time for Shizhuan and ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ to part ways, and the girl says, "Let's give it our all after school." Thinking about it, she's referring to the library committee, the only thing they have in common. Now, thinking that he must find his seat, he believes it's going to be such a pain, but fortunately, he left his gym bag at his seat. And now, as he sits at his desk looking through those notes, he believes everything is a mess. However, his look-through is paused as one girl stands up and goes in front of the class. Her name is Kazumibara, and she is a member of the Cultural Festival Committee. She announces the deadline for getting close and asks if anyone has any suggestions. Unfortunately, she is not willing to accept ideas such as girls' bikini cafe or making a campfire inside the class. ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ does not possess any memories about the cultural festival in his previous life, but he is going to get used to this high school life for now. Finally, when the bell rings, the boy feels a bit overwhelmed since he forgot most of the things he was supposed to do in class. And now, as he is approached by one of his colleagues, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ ends up asking if he is, by chance, Genji, putting his only friend from high school in an awkward spot with the way he asked. But there's something more important Genji wants to know. It's about Shizhuan. Why did she walk so friendly with him to school? In short, he explains that they met halfway, and she seemed like she was carrying heavy stuff, so ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ offered to help her. Hearing that, Genji is surprised. Since when is ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ able to do stuff like those handsome dudes in shoujo mangas? He's always mumbling and can't talk properly with girls. Taking a better look at him, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ seems different from his usual self. The way he speaks and his gloomy aura are not present anymore. He even suggests that last night the boy traveled to a different world, where he stayed for a long time, and now he's back. But that's not important right now. ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ shouldn't get ahead of himself. There's a handsome guy in the sports club who's aiming for Shizhuan. If low-class guys like them stand out, they'll most definitely start getting bullied. It's one of those stupid, unwritten rules. Hearing this, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ thanks his friend for the advice and suggests he's going to wear that anti-punch face mask that I'm developing. A moment later, as he goes to the vending machine to buy some cans he can use as weapons, the boy thinks that he must be more careful in this second life so he's not being targeted. But as he's about to take that juice, someone calls him a shitty otaku. This guy is Hino, a bully who targets weak-willed students and intimidates them. In his past life, he was targeted by him and still remembers the terror when close to him. However, looking at him now, he's not scary at all. He looks more like a chihuahua with earrings. He can't understand why he was scared back then. As the bully asks for some money, with a straight face, he says no, surprising the chihuahua boy, who now becomes agitated and starts threatening him. But even that is not working. ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ says that he's just looking like a delinquent and nothing else. He doesn't even have the guts to hit someone. Hearing that, the chihuahua starts barking louder and grabs him by the shirt. However, this seems like nothing. In his past life, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ never heard about this guy hitting anyone. Even at work, those who were superior threatened him in way more fierce ways. They used the authority they had over him. That's why hearing this school shout like that doesn't scare him. He even tries to incite him to throw some punches, yet the boy only takes the wallet from his hands and is about to leave, suggesting that it's punishment for him acting all cheeky. And as he opens the wallet, Kino exclaims that there are only 3,000 yen, which makes ʀᴜᴜ move towards him and bumps the boy into the wall, asking with a fierce voice, "Did you just try to take my money?" And now, shouting out loud and attracting everyone's attention, he says not to mess with him, asking if he doesn't know how much you have to work in order to get that money. He starts saying how difficult it is for someone to make that money and tells him that a wannabe delinquent like him who gets the money from his parents doesn't just take it from others. And as a final warning, with a look of someone thirsty for blood, he tells him that if he is ever going to take money that his parents have worked hard for, his head will be covered by dirt and flowers, prompting the Chihuahua boy to tremble in fear and mumble as he says he understands. As he leaves the scene, everyone is astonished by what just unfolded before their eyes and starts wondering how ʀᴜᴜ is able to walk so casually with those huge balls. Later, as he walks towards the library, ʀᴜᴜ starts pondering on how it hasn't been long since the time leap and he already made a big fuss. Apparently, this was the first time he became so mad in his life. Yet, he doesn't believe what he had done was a mistake because his mother is the only family he has, and she's working hard to take care of them. Since it's not worth thinking about anymore, he decides to focus on the library committee work with ʀᴜᴜ. As he opens the library door, he is welcomed with a view that reminds him of the gem-like memory he had. Greeting each other and having a small talk, they start preparing for the work they must do. While looking through the borrowed books documents, ʀᴜᴜ observes that there are lots of them that passed the deadline. It turns out, it's the same people as always, and while thinking of ways to deal with them, ʀᴜᴜ decides to announce their names during lunch break, worrying ʀᴜᴜ, who is concerned knowing those guys would get mad if they do so. That's why ʀᴜᴜ suggests giving them just a warning in which they would say that the persons who did not return the books by the end of the week, their names will be called out. This is one of the tricks he learned in the corporate world when a client would ignore the urgent emails. It turns out, he spoke a little too much like a corporate slave and wonders if that made ʀᴜᴜ believe he is weird. But it's not the case, since she expresses how ʀᴜᴜ's way of thinking and his words are so powerful, making him seem like a different person compared to before. In the past, if someone else had borrowed a popular new release, he always felt bad for them when they looked disappointed. He also put books in order that's easy for everyone to understand. Those things he had done now start to look so mature. Hearing these things makes ʀᴜᴜ surprised, not knowing she looked at his gloomy self in that way. Yet, the girl is surprised that just changing the way he speaks can make someone look like a different person, and she wants to try it herself since her parents always treat her like a kid and are overprotective. With that being said, even ʀᴜᴜ looks like a parent seeing their kid grow up. Later, after they finished working, ʀᴜᴜ brought the keys back to his teacher. He had already told ʀᴜᴜ to head back home, and with that, he must hurry and leave. After all, because of the girl's serious nature and his workaholic nature, they end up doing more than usual. Despite the time he had working at that black company, having to work together with ʀᴜᴜ, he feels joy and hopes that the two of them can get closer. Even knowing she thinks of him as her friend makes him happy, but thinking about it, something seems out of place. Is there something he is missing? And out of nowhere, he starts hearing someone yelling in the hallway. It turns out ʀᴜᴜ is cornered by some other girls, putting her in a tight spot. This group of girls is called Hanayama and her followers. They're a group of gyarists that focus on money and boys. They don't like it when other girls are cuter than them, and that's why they made ʀᴜᴜ an enemy. They start speaking nonsense, telling ʀᴜᴜ to stop trying to impress everyone and follow the school rules, such as cutting her hair short and not wearing makeup. They even suggest that a rich girl like herself should distance herself from the boys since she's the one who deserves all those balls on her face. When the confused ʀᴜᴜ says that she doesn't wear any makeup, one of those girls is about to become aggressive, but right at that moment, ʀᴜᴜ comes from behind and tells her if she wants to be aggressive, she better stand on her knees and sigh. Seeing him, ʀᴜᴜ shows a happy expression while the gyra girls have turned 180 ready to drop on their knees. This is not the first time ʀᴜᴜ has seen this type of girls. While at his workplace, they licked any hand that held some money. Since he saw her almost grabbing ʀᴜᴜ, he tells her in a nice way to stop doing this kind of thing, making the ʌɪᴜᴜ girl believe the two of them are dating. Thankfully, the boy knows how to deal with this situation and tells her that he remembers recently when walking through the north of the district shopping, he had seen her, specifying the location and the fact she was talking to office workers, surprising the girl that someone found that out. Apparently, Hanayama usually goes around offering paid dating to older men, and then she threatens them with a recording and asks for money. Apparently, in ʀɪᴜᴜ's past life, she was caught during the 3rd year. With that being said, he threatens her, suggesting that if she keeps bothering Shizuen, he is going to spread the rumors. Hearing that, Hanayama just leaves, followed by the other 2 girls who do not know what everything is about. This situation makes Shizuen express gratitude for being helped, but that was nothing for ʀɪᴜᴜ, who now, by looking at her, observes the girl is pale, and when hearing that nobody is going to pick her up from school, he proposes to escort her home. At that moment, the words came out naturally, but a second later, he realizes he still owns a V card. Even in his previous life, he did not manage to escort a girl home or do any kind of freaky thing with a girl. Turns out, his first fight was a success, and the girl is showing a pleased expression with that smile of hers reaching for the ears. As they walk together home and have a chat about some books they have been reading, ʀɪᴜᴜ remembers how when he was walking together with a coworker, their conversations were always short since he was replying with one word, making everyone believe he is such a boring person. And since this was looking bad, he came up with a plan where he needs to steer the conversation into something the other person likes, for stuff like hobbies. By doing so, he can let the other person talk about the stuff they like, and most of the time, it improves their mood. And since he just needs to nod in agreement, it's the most effective strategy he found. And by looking at Shizuen right now, she seems to be really happy. Finding a girl like her who is not constantly thinking about how big it is but likes light novels is kinda rare. A moment later, she excuses herself for talking so much since doing so made her feel better after what just happened. But our boy was already using his plan, and those kinds of harassments she just experienced are like misfortunes. Those people do whatever they like until they are satisfied. However, Shizuen expresses gratitude since ʀɪᴜᴜ showed up and saved her, but this kind of thing wasn't the first time she experienced. Even during the 1st year of elementary school, there were some girls that harassed her. The poor girl does not even understand what they want from her. She only can see that they really hate her. And as ʀɪᴜᴜ understands that she must understand why this is happening, he ends up telling her that she is being harassed by the other girls because she is beautiful and kind. Those people are just jealous of her cuteness and kindness. But when hearing that, Shizuen declines it, saying that she is nothing like that. However, ʀɪᴜᴜ is not going to back away and suggests her to at least be self-conscious about it, since no matter how you look at it, she is beautiful. Honest people like her end up thinking it's my fault for whatever bad happens. That's why in the past she ended up in a bad position. In order to prevent that from happening again, ʀɪᴜᴜ must first change her way of thinking. And as he keeps on telling her that the other people are the problem and not to blame herself anymore, the girl keeps staring at him and suggests he looks really serious and asks why is he worried about her, prompting the boy to say that he does not like that she is troubled by something. And since she wants to make sure everything said is true, she asks him again if what he said is indeed true and not just words because he is trying to console her. ʀɪᴜᴜ ends up saying that from the first time he laid eyes on her, he was surprised by her beauty, making the girl blush really hard. At that moment, because of how determined he was to change the future, the boy did not realize how embarrassing his words really were. And now, as they arrived in front of her house, ʀɪᴜᴜ is amazed by the size of the house. But his attention is caught again by Shizuen, who expresses gratitude once again for today. She really wants him to understand that she really appreciates it, and without him, she would have felt depressed. But he really cheered her up. Hearing that, he is happy seeing the girl smile and tells her if there is something similar to what happened today, do not hesitate to tell him. After realizing he was a little too worried and pushed things a little too far, he says goodbye and is about to leave, but not before receiving one more thank you from Shizuen. Later, when ʀɪᴜᴜ arrives home, even though his mom shouldn't be there, he sees some light coming from her room. And when he got there, he got surprised seeing his sister, who is 2 years younger than himself. Even though she is a cheerful girl, she acts cold towards ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ. In his past life, they used to be on good terms, but as they got older, they spoke to each other less, and at their mother's funeral, they basically became strangers. Seeing her ready to dig into a cup of noodles for dinner since their mother is going to be late, ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ tells her to wait a moment because he is going to make something. Moments later, she is amazed by his cooking skills, not knowing her brother had any clue on how to do that. And as she sits at the table, unsure if the thing in front of her eyes is edible, at her brother's suggestion, she takes a spoonful of that food. To her surprise, it's delicious, but she tries to hide her pleased face. Understanding that until now he may have not behaved like a brother, he apologizes and tells her that he is not trying to atone for that, but from now on, he is going to make food in place of their mother. At Shizhuan's home, the girl stays in her bed thinking how ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ kept on surprising her today. Even though he is a good guy, usually he does not talk much, but for some reason today he was different. He became cheerful and strong-willed, and as she thinks about him, the memory of how he said from the moment she laid his eyes on her he was surprised by her beauty pops up in her mind. Those days when the girls are bullying her make Shizhuan feel depressed. But this time her heart feels so light because of all the things ʀᴜᴜᴛᴜ has told her. With that being said, remember guys, to reach a girl's heart, it is not enough to be a good guy. You must be hard and confident while taking that finger out of your anus.